What's up, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Warcast, a special New Year's Eve edition featuring the one and only, the amazing Adrian Chong. That's right, Adrian Chong sits down with the Warcast, and we discuss several incredibly important topics that could alter the course of your life. So stay tuned for the podcast. I hope you enjoy it, and Happy New Year. Yeah, so then you have an idea of the torture that you're in for. You know that you're going to get beat up a little bit here on this show. This is a rough show.
Calling him a noob.
Yeah. This is a rough show to come on.
I get called that a lot.
This is brave of you to come on here. Actually, frankly, this is pretty brave. Because you already signed all of like the agreements and contracts. I pretty much have free reign to do whatever I want. So I really admire you guys for giving over free will like that. So this is going to be basically a New Year's Eve podcast. So when I put this up, it'll be New Year's Eve for me anyways, for those of us on the other side of the planet currently. And so Happy New Year's to everyone out there who is not already inebriated under a table. If you're still conscious and you have the power to click on your YouTube app and listen to this, please do so, because I am joined live, sort of, by the man, the myth, the legend, Adrian Chong. His name is literally synonymous with robots. You can't think of robots and not think of Adrian Chong. So, Adrian, welcome to the second official episode of the Warcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. So we have serious topics to get into, okay? Because I figured, this is a good resource. Adrian knows a lot about robots. You've been around the game since, the very beginning. So we're going to talk about serious topics. First off, what made you decide to invent war robots?
What made me decide to invent it? Well, actually, I only started I think it was 1 year after they kind of introduced it to the iOS platform. At least that's what I've been told. It's kind of an interesting story, though. But, when I started playing and I first actually joined Clan Vox, some players were telling me that, the game had been around for 1 year because the Russians apparently had been playing it since it's a Russian game. But then I started speaking to this other guy, and he is telling me how, he started playing this game even before then, 2 years before or something, 2 or 3 years. So I was like, you mean this game has been out for quite a while? We just haven't. He's like, yeah, he's been playing this. And he played it the first couple games. I think it was only one map and 3 bots or something, but he wasn't really interested. So he deleted it. Then he discovered it again a couple years later. So I don't even know how long they've had this game out on iOS. So yeah, quite a while.
So what you're telling us is that you did not, in fact, invent the game.
That's pretty much what I'm telling you.
Okay. I think that's all the time we have, folks. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Warcast. I was absolutely convinced that you had invented the game. This whole thing kind of circles around your channel. I thought for sure that you developed the thing, but let me mark that down. Did not invent game. Okay, we got that down.
Brownie points for that.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with this guy inventing games, running this full-time channel. That's he's got 3 videos up every day. Okay, well I'll get over it. Okay, for real this time. Okay, no joking around. All right, so topics I want to cover, and I'll have a very professional slate up on it's a video podcast, which is I don't know if there's a short vlog. I don't know if it's a Vibacast or something, but if Vibacast is a thing and I just made it a thing, there'll be a slate and you can watch it too. You don't have to watch it, but we'll have the topics listed so that you can see what we're talking about. So one of the first things I wanted to get into, was the test server changes. Most recently, Adrian, I assume that I'm pretty sure I saw a couple of your videos. Pretty sure you thoroughly tested that. What did you make of all of the changes? There was quite a lot of them. Tell me what you think.
For the most part, I would say there was some good changes that they had going, like the Natasha. I can kind of see why they increased the speed of it, to at least give some players a chance to compete against the Fury. VTS kind of made sense too, because I've played the VTS a couple of times in gold tier recently, and it didn't really hold up too well. I think the reason why is just because not enough HP. There's just not enough firepower, so I think they kind of made the right move with that. What was the other one? Leo. I don't understand why they gave the Leo more HP, because it already has quite a bit.
The Leo, that really sweetens the deal. 20,000 additional hit points. I think it's going to be like 226k now.
Yeah.
Which is
that was a little bit confusing to me, like why they did that.
I personally, I really like the Leo. The Leo is one of the bots that I like the best, but never use. Mm-hmm. I've got a couple of them. They're like level 9. I never went back to them. But, it seems like maybe they were going for some additional viability, given all of the robots that have one, like a shield of one type or another. So, the Leo, that's kind of its shtick. It trades hit points, in place of damage mitigation. It doesn't have any damage mitigation capabilities. So, I didn't have a huge problem with that one. One of the ones that I think may be problematic, tell me what you think about they increased the overall hit points of the Fujin's energy shield. I believe it's now going to be 90% of the bot's total health. And I think, if I'm recalling correctly, I'm not sure, the regeneration is affected as well. And on live, the Fujin, the shield is already kind of hard to bring down, depending on what you're hitting it with. I saw that change as like, ooh, that might make that thing like a little too strong for a medium bot. What did you think about that one?
Well, right now, I actually think even with those changes, I still found it kind of weak, actually. And I think, I was kind of debating on like what was causing this sort of imbalance with that bot and making it weak in particular. And I think, maybe the developers are looking at the wrong area. I think maybe speed actually needs to be increased on the Fujin. When that bot was first tested out, they were on the test server, and I remember the speed of the or the regeneration rate of the sentry shield was crazy, because I remember I was firing. I remember one time on winter map, I was firing my Fury Tridents at one, and they totally blocked it out. By the time I had fired my second round, they blocked that too.
Yeah, you virtually could not bring it down with even like a death button setup, It regenerated so quickly, and I remember they pretty rapidly dialed it down from where it was, because it's at the end of the day, it's a medium bot. It's not really a brawler. So I kind of see it. Honestly, I always kind of default to like, I'm always in favor of making all of the bots and weapons more useful. So I don't mind bumps here and there. Improve the shield, improve the hit points, whatever it is, because I feel like there's a lot in the game that after you pass a certain level, it just gets left on the table. You never go back to it. And so for like the Fujin, I kind of see it as like, I'm liking it as like a support bot. And now with the way the new Malots are, the mediums, whatever, I think they're changing the name. I don't know. They're going to be called something slightly different, Malot Mark II or something. But the medium Malots, I thought, like, now there's an interesting platform, because you have the energy shield to protect from splash damage. So if you're trying to push back those Trident Furies that are everywhere, you're going to have some pretty good splash protection with that shield being a little bit thicker and regenerating a little bit faster. So that's kind of how I was seeing. If I ran a Fujin, that would probably be the role. I still don't think it's really a brawler in my hangar.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the Fujin, because I was talking to someone from my clan earlier tonight, and I mentioned that I wouldn't be surprised if they start buffing the Fujin quite a bit, because they spent a lot of resources and time developing a 4-Lego robot.
Yeah.
And being that this is a business, they're not going to put that to waste.
Yeah.
They're going to want their return on it. So at some point, I think there's going to be a bit of a buff on that Fujin to make sure that players actually buy it and they get their return on it.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that that of all the different bots that we've gotten, I think those came out like the Rhino was maybe the first new one or something, and that was kind of like a one-off, and then they went with the Japanese bots, and yeah, they did put that had a huge development window. Those things were on test server for a long time. They were in the pipeline for a long time. They originated as like the Bastion. Remember that thing?
Yeah.
It was going to be like one big heavy robot that kind of, I guess, morphed into the Ragin. But yeah, that was a
Funny because players still ask for it too. They're like, "When is the Bastion coming out?"
yeah,
I was like, "Well, it has come out. It's just called the Writing now."
yeah. That was a long pipeline, and so yeah, I don't mind too much. The Fujin get a little more love. I have one. I bought it just because I had like 100,000 workshop points sitting around doing nothing. So I figured, what the hell. But what other changes did you see? Did you have any big problems with, or you're really looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to what they're trying to do with the Rogatka. For 2,500 gold,
Yeah.
right now I wouldn't even consider it. I mean, the Galahad is
Oh, yeah.
like way better than that. But I think increasing what did they do? Increase the speed. They increased the HP of it.
Yep.
I don't even know if that's enough, actually. I think they maybe need to look at the cooldown time of the jump, maybe even just removing it altogether, which is actually, I think, what they had before, just so that it could compete against something like a Galahad, because there's so many shielded bots now that, I mean, even though you give it more HP, you give it that speed, it may not be enough against all those shielded bots.
I mentioned it on my video that I did for test server. I was told once upon a time, I used to email like Pixonic like support like every day. When you first start playing, you're so excited, and then there's all these ideas you come up with and everything. And one of the things I was always curious about was, is there damage mitigation beyond just total pool of hit points? Is 100,000 hit points, 100,000 hit points, 100,000 hit points, like light, medium, or heavy? Or does the class actually affect the amount of damage you receive? And, obviously English isn't their first language. So once upon a time, anyways, this is like probably a year and a half ago or a year ago, something like that. It sounded like in kind of broken English in the email response that there is a mitigation factor associated with the class of the robot. And it kind of came up again when I was playing the other day on the test server with the Rogatka. I was loving the speed. It was super fast. It was very nimble. It's almost like a Gepard that can jump now on test server. You know what I mean? That's how quickly it can turn and kind of like wheel and move. But what I did notice is even though they added I think 10 or 11,000 hit points, I got caught by a plasma rhino, and I can't remember what the total is. It's either like 135,000 or 145,000 hit points. Whatever it was, it disappeared in an instant. Like it was just, It was like a hot knife through butter. So I think there might be something to that damage mitigation concept there, and that's the thing that once I experienced that, at first I was loving it. I'm like, oh, it's so fast. You could put Orkans on this thing and really be a nightmare, like in Dead City or something. But when I got caught, that I hadn't seen 100,000 plus hit points disappear that quickly, because I run all heavies, on live, and it didn't seem the same to me.
Well, I know with this game, and this is just my opinion too, is there was a point where the game was actually really balanced, and that point was just before Plasma came out. When Plasma came out, the Tyrans, the Magnums, the Trebuchets, that to me was the point where the game started to get very imbalanced, mostly because of the amount of damage Tyrans and Magnums did in such a short period of time. If you look at the game now, how many players you see running just Tyrans and Magnums? It's just insane. And they wouldn't be running it if it didn't do a lot of damage. And I think that's something that I think they need to look at that, because I still think Tyrans do too much damage in comparison to like other weapons.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit on one of your live streams in the last week or two. I think that came up. And one of the things that I do like about the Plasma, it's almost like they kind of foresaw, like they knew they were going to go to a lot of new robots that had physical shields or other damage mitigating capabilities. So on one hand, I think the excessive damage with Plasma is because you get a lot of uptime. The Terrans aren't down very long. The Magnums are up all the time. But it's kind of countered by the fact that there are so many physical shields now. Ragin, Rhino, Lancelot.
So maybe they were planning for this way ahead.
That's what I feel like, and that's what if you remember we talked about briefly on your live stream, it felt like they were kind of like they knew that they had some jigsaw puzzle pieces yet to be put in place. So that's kind of where I feel like honestly, I've moved away from plasma in my live hanger almost entirely for gold. I have a couple of Terrans on my Griffin that I'm running with. I think we talked about it too. I'm running with aphids, and I'm loving that setup. But honestly, I'd like to go to the Orkans. I just don't have like my fourth set is like they're like level 7s. Yeah. So I've actually tried to go away from plasma altogether. And just it's
kind of funny that you mentioned this because I'm finding that my hanger is actually moving a little bit away from like Orkans and more towards plasma.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think it might be because a lot of players were saying lately that Orkans just aren't hitting the target like they used to.
Yes.
I don't know if they've changed the splash damage radius or something, but it's not as effective. And I think more and more players are starting to run plasma.
What I've noticed,
that's just my personal opinion.
What I've noticed with the Orkans is that it seems to be, at least for me, and this could just be like my crappy aiming. It seems to me to be related to like the target bot cross section. Like all these bots, they represent like there's a physical hit box there. For things to land on and register as damage. And I have a hell of a time, like Galahad and smaller, it's like I won't even shoot my rockets until I'm within 100 meters type thing. So I feel like maybe they tweaked something there, where with like a Rhino and stuff, I have no problem starting like on a Rhino coming right at me, 300 meters and in. I'll start to let them all go, and I feel like the cross section is such that it's not unlike the aphids. You're getting the majority of the effects on the target and registering a bunch of damage. But when you get down to the Galahad and smaller, and I don't know if it's a hitbox issue or maybe it's a mobility issue, because they're so quick. Kind of like if you run a Gepard, you almost can't hit a guy in a Gepard with like aphids and stuff. He just runs the other way, and they almost all miss. You really got to catch him dead on. So that's what I kind of noticed.
I think it might be a combination of that too. I actually did this was kind of a study that I did. It's kind of an interesting study a while back when Molots were very powerful. I used to run a pattern Molots, and everyone else around me is saying, run the Griffin Molots. So I was finding that, when I got to run about 600-700 meters, the pattern Molot actually did more damage. So I was trying to figure out why was that, and I'd come to the conclusion that maybe it's because the pattern is smaller. You can actually move around quicker, but because it's smaller, I think your weapons are clumped up closer together.
Yeah.
And because it's closer together, more of your bullets are actually going to hit something like a
I could see
Griffin,
that.
which is a lot bigger.
As opposed to mounting them on a Leo, where the two on either side are, they're so far apart, or whatever other configuration. Yeah, there's something to that, I think.
And then I started running other tests too, even with the Rogatka, I started running that as well, because there was one game I remember specifically, it was on Shenzhen. I was running through the gap by the archway, and there was a Griff Molot that was firing at me, and I hardly got hit when I was in my Rogatka. So I was like, well, that is strange. It's maybe because the profile of the Rogatka is so narrow. So that's why I started mixing it up between the Rogatka and the pattern. But that was interesting.
Yeah, so overall, I think all of these changes, when I gave him my feedback, I was pretty much I'm in favor of pretty much all these. We can see they can do another test server, and we can kind of see how it goes. But I didn't see anything that was sticking out that I was like, oh, game breaking. I liked it that the little Gareth's going to be even faster, because
that was amazing actually. When I tested it, I was like, whoa, this thing is actually really, really good.
Yeah, that thing, that bot has 150 hit points. It's ridiculous. If you get hit by anything, that thing just poofs, in a cloud of smoke. So it has to have speed and its little shield to survive. But I found that I was able to do quite a lot with it. I was testing it on Yam and Tau and running all over the place. Up the beacon or up the beacon. I ran up the beacon. The ramp to the center beacon. A Lance was trying to hit me, and it seemed like, because I'm moving so quickly and I'm so tiny, he wasn't really, it was hard for him to track me. So I was really surprised. I don't actually have one on live. It's one that I'd really like to get. I just have never gotten around to it. But overall, I'm in favor. I think all the changes look really good.
Yeah. The only thing that I didn't really like, but I spoke to them about this afterwards, was that whole circular motion thing. Like, I don't know if you experienced that kind of change in movement mechanics that they had on the test server
In regards to
this weekend.
like aiming?
Yeah, no, it was really, really strange. Like, if you were moving to, like, say, the right side in a regatta, and you wanted to abruptly stop and move to the left, you couldn't do that because your regatta would actually move a little bit more to the right, and you would do like a weird circular motion before you moved to the left side. And I was on winter map Yamantau, the one game in a regatta, and every time I kept running off the ramp when I was trying to avoid fire, and it got me killed twice.
Yeah, see, that would make no sense, especially for a small bot like a regatta. That thing should be able to turn on a dime. So yeah, hopefully.
I spoke to them, and the guy told me that they figured out it was actually a bug.
Oh, good. Yeah, because that would be terrible. Because it's kind of like, come on, guys, that's the whole thing with these smaller, faster bots here that they need to be able to to maneuver quickly in order to even make them viable at all. And even with all the changes, there's still a lot of that stuff that I don't think you're seeing a Vityaz in gold successfully anytime soon. You're not going to click on a guy's profile who's averaging 700,000 plus damage, and it's like Vityaz. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to see that, I don't think. So it's cool they showed it a little bit of love, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Just because of what everybody, it's physical shields and things like that.
You know what I do find interesting though? A lot of the bots that we see now, they're all getting HP buffs. So I'm kind of wondering, maybe they're coming out with a new weapon that does a ton of damage.
It also could be that I think they've mentioned or alluded to additional levels for the weapons and bots. I think, do you recall them talking about that?
No, but I think obviously they could always reconsider that. I mean, there's weapons used to be level 12. It's always been level 12.
It could have just been like Facebook rumor mill, but I thought I saw somebody talking about where, somebody posts a question and then they post a response, and it's like, well, we're going to look into that. They're looking into everything, according to, when you ask them questions, they're always looking into stuff, but, so, I mean, that's a potential,
don't tell the guys that we're going to raise it to level 100.
Well, yeah. I mean, even if you took something to, level 13, my goodness, it's like a Thunder or an Orkin or a Trident, they'd probably, people would be, burning the place down if, you made Tridents any more powerful at all. So, people hate those things. But I think we have thoroughly covered the test server changes. And if there's anything that we didn't cover, I know, Adrian, you did a couple of videos at least. I did at least one. I'll put things that pop up, and you can click on them, and that'll link you to Adrian's videos, his channel, my test server video. So that way, if you are hearing this stuff for the first time, and you're like, what are these guys talking about, you can check that out. And I'm remiss, I should have mentioned that, yes, this is Adrian Chong from the Adrian Chong channel, okay? I'm starting to think after talking to you and Stu that I named my channel wrong. Because everybody's channel is named after themselves. So, yeah, I think that, what is the word? It's eponymously named or something like that. I could be wrong, but if I remember school, I dropped out in the 6th grade, but if I remember school, I think that's a word. And, I guess I should have called my channel the Warlock channel. Is that what I would have gone with? I'm not sure, because it's Stupendous, Adrian Chong. What was the inspiration for your channel's name, by the way? That's a joke. Don't answer that. I'm just being silly. So let's move on to more important issues. Okay. So here's one that you see this. I try to stay away from Facebook as much as possible, but this comes up all the time. What do you think about pay to play / pay to win? And there are a couple of different. There are two different things. Pay to win is one of those things where you drop in $20 and you buy the legendary crystal of yore, and it's nobody else can have that unless they too drop in $20. Pay to play is a little bit it's a free app, but the developers have to keep the lights on. They got to pay rent. They have to have plenty of vodka on hand for the staff. They're in Russia, so there are two different things. So I don't really see robots as a pay to win game, but there is a little bit of pay to play. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that pops up quite often. A lot of players say that this game is pay to win, but I don't really see it as that. I mean, if we did, we'd be seeing Fury's, Lancelot, Galahad's galore in gold tier for one. Um, so I don't really see it like this game to me is like chess. You have different parts to it, and each one has a different role. One isn't going to be more predominant than the other. The whole thing behind, like you mentioned, was the other one, pay to play, which I can kind of see how this game could be pay to play because if you're looking at things like just supporting the developers and stuff, there needs to be a way because players need to. I mean, there needs to be good servers. There needs to be development, whether it be new maps, new weapons, new robots. Someone's got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it was just a free thing, no one's going to have access to that, right? So I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
I think people forget, but there are no advertisements on this game. There isn't a free version and a paid version. I think it's one of the things that drew me to the game is I was so impressed from the get-go when I first started it up. It was very well done. The graphics were amazing. The gameplay was really good. Just immediately engrossing platform, but like no ads. Like when I play Words with Friends with my wife, every time I make a move, it's like, hey, need some personal hygiene products, and this big advertisement pops up and I'm like, no, thank you. And you got to wait 10 seconds to click on the X. It's really annoying. And she's, kicking my ASS the whole time too, like, with Words with Friends. So I shouldn't even play her anymore. But, Robots has no advertisement, so they're not seeing any revenue from that. So it's only what we spend on, say, gold, the various events, snowflakes, and I will not disclose how much money I've spent on snowflakes during this event because I will be shamed out of the building, be like, pound center beacon, not real gamer, pound, noob sauce, pound, something, internet hatred. But I don't have a problem with capitalism. You know what I mean? I think it's the way that this game got created in the first place. I think they have like one other title, and it's like Adventures on like Monkey Island or something. It's something very obscure. Something tells me they make no money from it whatsoever, and this is paying the bills. So I don't have a problem. Yeah. I've spent money on the game. I'm not ashamed to admit. But I don't see it as pay to win. Some people will be like, oh, the only way you can get that is if you put money. And that's not true. I know I have several friends who they have all kinds of developed hangars, bots that cost gold, and they play a lot. That's kind of inherent in the concept. You can have anything I can have, but it's we all play a lot. And what I liked about Robots is that they offer you the ability for those of us that don't have as much time, who are really busy. I'll spend $5. I'll spend $10. I'll get some gold. I'll speed up this upgrade, whatever it is, and I don't really have a problem with that. So pay to play, somewhat, like you said, supporting the developers, supporting the game. Pay to win, I wouldn't say that at all. Yeah,
you're essentially just paying for time, really. Because, I mean, you could accomplish so much if you have the time. That's basically how this game works.
Yeah, and it's it's part of the model where it's like some of the upgrades and the time that it takes. You're like, oh man, 5 days, screw that. I'll just put $10 in, and buy some gold. The thing that I want to be able to buy is silver, and not for like the ridiculous conversion rate where you pay like 27,000 gold and you get like 11 silver back. I don't know. I mean. I guess it's because then it really would be pay to win, because if you just had a bunch of disposable income, you could just pump a bunch of cash into it and, max a hangar like in a day type thing. But Did
I ever tell you the story about this guy that was in our clan? How he maxed out his stuff?
No, go ahead.
So I'll tell you the story. So basically, this was a while back. We recruited this one guy, and he was in our clan, and we were like. I think the leader told me or told us that he had a maxed hang and he did it like 2 weeks. So we were playing a couple of games. Our first game, we're like, "Have you tried out like the Death Button Griffin?" And he'd be like, "What's that?" And we're like, Griffin with Orc and Panadas. He's like, "No." So we're trying to invite this guy, and while we're inviting him, he's maxing out on the spot his Orkans and his Pinatas, and he's like, just give me a couple of seconds, I'm just maxing this out. And we were like, the whole chat room or the voice comms went quiet. And we were like, seriously, this guy's maxing out his stuff like on the spot. So he drops in with a Griffin with Orkan Pinatas. The next game we're like, have you tried out like Punish a Griffin? And he'd be like, no, just give me a couple of seconds, I'm maxing this out. This guy was maxing out his stuff on the spot. And we were like, holy crap, this guy's like loaded. We were just all quiet. We were like, because it all took us like 6 months or 7 months to max our stuff out. This guy was doing it on the spot.
Yeah, and that's, and like that was back when silver was easier to get. You used to get those 30% win bonuses, and if you had a really good game, I remember winning like 1 point something million silver off of one game. And now it's a little bit more anemic, and silver is my biggest barrier to upgrading, because if I want to, I could always drop a couple bucks into the game and buy some gold, speed something up, or what have you. But silver is like,
can't do it with silver.
Right. Silver is the major barrier to finishing off all these side projects. I have 1,800 weapons at level 9 that I still need to get back to and finish off type thing. But supporting the game, I don't have a problem with it. What I'm kind of hoping to, Pixonic developers, if you ever listen to my show, how about tasks for silver? I don't think that would be too game breaking. Some of the gold, I get it all the time, and it's like it ends up like accumulating. I've got 3 or 4 of at this point, having played for so long, I've got 3 or 4 of every gold weapon there is type thing, or more, depending on what it is. So there isn't really anything that I need to buy with gold, and I would like to see some tasks for silver. Do X, Y, and Z, and you get, I don't know, 300,000 silver, 500,000 silver, whatever it is. I'd like them to mix that into the rotation and give us a little bit.
Maybe they should have like an option for players to choose whether you want daily tasks for silver, gold, and workshop points.
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good idea, and I had that had crossed my mind as well. And also, too, the ability to convert one resource into another. I think, like most of us out there, we've all got 900,000 workshop points and nothing to spend it on. And, they're just sitting there. And I don't really see those going anywhere unless the new bots come out for workshop points or new weapon or whatever it's going to be. I'd like to convert that into silver. You know what I mean? So maybe do something like that where you could convert currencies that way.
Funny because you buy it with silver too.
Yeah. I wish somebody would have clued me in on that. There's a pro tip for you people. Stop wasting your money on workshop points. My goodness, it took me forever before I finally decided. It was like trying to quit crack like cold turkey. I was like, no, I've got to have these workshop points. I kept 40,000 silver, 40,000 silver, 40,000 silver. And you don't realize, you're throwing all your money away, into this workshop farm. It's like a time money sink. It was pretty horrible. I wish somebody would have told me to stop doing that a long time ago. So one of the other things, okay, so final serious topic. So I watched your live stream with the developers from a couple weeks ago, and it was Artemy, and I think his name was Arthur. And one of the things that came up that I was interested in, and I wish we would get more information on, it pertains to the new matchmaking system. And I'm sure everybody's probably really curious about that, but I was really interested in the Elo Ratings system that they're going to go to. Now, some people may not be real familiar with that. If you've ever played chess, then you probably are. It's a rating system that uses a mathematical formula to basically, after you've played enough games, to basically assign a weight or a value or a rating to a player's ability. And so it uses, it's kind of complex. It uses some predictive models, and it makes some assumptions, and it's not 100% foolproof, but it works pretty well. And more than just chess uses it. Professional sports use it, all sorts of things. But the thing there, it's kind of interesting. The thing there with like a chess player. Now, obviously, no two players are equal, but the board is, and the pieces all do the same thing. So one of the things I'd really like to get an answer on from the developers with an Elo system, how do they account for the different levels of robots and weapons. Because when you guys talked about it, the one developer, he mentioned that, like, well, if a guy running lower level stuff has like good stats and his rating is higher, then he can find himself in a higher rated, like, matchmaking game running with what I assume would be, players with higher level bots. And, it's one thing skill wise, but like, I still don't see a guy, even like, you're a competent player, I'm a competent player. I still don't see me running like a hanger of like 5 Thunder Shootses at like level 7 and being super successful, even against, like, say, mediocre players with max gold hangers. You see what I'm saying there?
Mm-hmm.
So...
yeah, I have no idea, like, how they are going to plan that. I actually had a discussion with another player earlier tonight about that. He was like, we were trying to discuss. So I was like, so does that mean, like, they're going to be putting, like, the win... Like, if you have a really high winning percentage, they're going to be grouping you with other players that have really high win percentage, and then matchmaking is going to be based off that. Like, how, like in gold tier, like, how would that work? Instead of like a person with a really high win percentage is being matched with someone who doesn't win that much, and then matching them up with another group like that.
The only thing that I could think of is that, purely as a mechanism to, I hate this term, but seal clubbing, there I said it. Purely as a mechanism to discourage seal clubbing, like if you're running around and, you're averaging like 1.9 million damage and 75 kills a game, because, you're preying on the helpless seals, which I think is an oxymoron. I don't think any human playing this game is truly helpless. Some are better players than others. But if that guy then, under the new system, with those stats, say his Elo rating is comparable to someone, running a maxed hanger, then if all of a sudden he finds himself in a maxed gold tier match, I mean, clearly rating or not, he's going to get annihilated. Because every once in a while, you'll see like guys running like Magnum Gepards will pop into like one of our gold games, and I mean, they absolutely disappear. You know what I mean? They're as fast as those things are, they have no hope of, one triple trebuchet Fury catches you from the other side of the map and you've got like 8 hit points left. You know what I mean? So I could see it if it's like, where that guy, his stats are awesome because of where he's been sitting, if Matchmaker even still allows for that. And then all of a sudden he finds himself in a higher tier, and then he's like, okay, I gotta re-equip.
Now he has to upgrade.
Yes, now he has to upgrade.
Now he's forced to. Yeah.
Right. That's the only thing I can think of, because it's like I said, with the Elo rating, it's one thing if we're on a, we're sitting across from a chessboard, all the pieces do the same thing. The board, or the map in this case, is the same every time. The only variable, or the only 2 variables are the 2 players and, their respective skill levels. So I think that'll be something that I really hope that, I mean, you have their cell phone number, right? Couldn't you just call them right now? Like, you could get them on the phone, right? It like
the guy's
lights
like
up.
Sleeping. It's like 5 a.m. in the morning. I'm like,
well, whatever.
Hey, wanted to ask you.
This is Adrian Chong. You better wake up. Wake up, sucker. It's probably like it's got like a really,
Doing a podcast right now.
Yeah, exactly. We need answers. Dang it. Probably has a really flattering picture of you that pops up on their phone. It's like huge, and it's like, oh man, it's Adrian. We got to wake up, answer this question. But that was what I was thinking. So I would have loved to, I'm hoping that like either, you get to do another live stream with them. I know they kind of do them rarely. But I'm hoping that maybe they hear us on this one and we can get into a little more detail, because I'm really kind of curious to see the how they plan on resolving that. Now I assume, I mean, math, trust me, is not my thing. Okay, I'm lucky to be able to balance my checkbook, so I'm sure that like the geniuses at Pixonic, they've got like a dude with like a calculator with all those buttons that nobody knows what they do, and he's probably figuring this stuff out. But that's what I was really curious about, is how do you balance an Elo style rating against the fact that like unless something drastically changes that no one has mentioned, you're still going to have a game where thousands and thousands of players have thousands and thousands of different combinations of levels of not only robots but weapons too. So it would be interesting to see how they balance that.
Yeah, matchmaking has gone through a lot of changes from like when I first started playing to what it is now. I know a lot of players complain about what it is now, but it used to be actually worse. So I mean, that's just how it goes with this game.
Yeah, sometimes I take a little bit of heat because I have let's say non-standard views on the whole, like, seal clubbing. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers. You can't see it because it's a podcast, but I just don't see it as big a deal. When I started playing, I ran into guys, and whether it was a Gepard or it was a Vityaz with like a Thunder and Magnums, or a Rogaka, which was, we talked about it before, but Rogaka Terrans was the big one that chewed my butt up, something fierce when I first started playing. And I'm like, oh man, I got to get me, 1 or 5 of those. And, it was just kind of one of those things where I was like, all right, like, if you're going to run here, you need to run what the big boys are running and fight fire with fire, so to speak. But I feel like sometimes I'm a minority in that viewpoint. Other people kind of have this view that like, oh, it's, it's not fair and blah, blah, blah. So I hope that the new Matchmaker system addresses all of this. But if they still have a system that runs, where you can choose like, hey, I'm never leveling this Magnum beyond 3, and that still, factors into where you get matched up, so I don't know, maybe that Elo rating thing, that'll solve it. If it indeed works as perhaps we theorized, and that guy gets forced into, max level gold against like top clans, and he lasts 4 seconds in every game, well then he either starts tanking his win percentage, he starts tanking games in order to run that hanger, or, he levels up, which is honestly is my advice. And we talked about it on your live stream, but, don't waste time in the lower tiers. Honestly, like the most fun you're ever going to have is at max level play. That's where the best players are. And consequently, that's where the best games occur, is what I'm sure it's the same on iOS, but I know that's how it is on Android. And I've had more fun there than I ever did, running silver or bronze or whatever it is. If they would sweeten the winnings a little bit, make it a little easier to come across silver and whatnot, I think we'd have a winning formula.
Yeah. Someone actually mentioned this a while ago. They were saying that how maybe, because they have different tiers, maybe they should reward like the gold tier players with more gold and more silver.
Oh, absolutely.
So it encourages the lower players to actually upgrade more so that they can get that more, more gold, more silver.
That's not a bad idea at all, because I'm sure, you feel the same way, that like, sometimes you play your little butt off in gold just to get the loss. You know what I mean?
It's like 300,000 silver.
Yeah. You dump in like, 1.1 million damage. You play for 10 minutes straight. Your fingers are broken. Like, you had to pee 2 hours ago. You're throwing stuff around the room, you lose, and then you get like 275,000 silver for your troubles. It's like, oh, thanks. You don't go negative anymore. It's like, oh, thanks. That now that I'm not in debt, like you once could go negative in silver, but I don't feel like it's a very equitable situation anymore, and especially because it's that scale is in play, whether you played a bronze match, and it favors the lower tiers if you think about it, because with lighter bots, you incur less repair cost. So, when you or I are in gold and we've got, I don't even know what the number would be, but, 12 million hit points worth of heavy robots, and we get eaten up and you burn through all your bots just to play one match, and it's a loss, we're actually being penalized, whereas somebody playing in the lower tiers, they're actually getting a bonus, because they're not spending as much in repairs. They're keeping, hence the whole farming concept, but they're keeping more of, their investment there, return on their investment. So, well, I think we've covered all of the important topics for this show. I mean, I don't want to like solve all of Robot's problems in like one show, Maybe Adrian will come on again in the future and we will fully solve every issue with the game. Currently, Pixonic will probably hire us. We'll have to move to Moscow, though. I don't know if I'm willing to do that. We'll have to see. It's very cold there. So let's talk a little bit about my guest, Adrian Chong. Let's get into some things that he is contractually obligated now, answers personal details. He's obligated to provide to us.
Print.
What's that?
I should have read the fine print.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, Warlock, I'm losing connection. Oh, I can't hear you anymore. Oh, okay, gotta go. So I do a little segment on the show. I did this with Stu. I say it like I've done 100 shows. It's 2 shows. I'm not fooling anybody. But I do a segment on the show called 5 Things You Didn't Know About, in this case, Adrian Chong. So what we do here is I'm going to read a list of 5 things. As you know, I have a staff, several departments. I'm sure you have the same there at Adrian Chong HQ. But I have an immense workforce under me. Many departments, hundreds of employees. And the research department has come back with some very interesting and perhaps even shocking facts that many of the fans out there probably didn't know about you. So I'm going to read them. You can confirm or deny them. You can try to evade the truth if you want to. I think it's your voice will betray you every time, and I'll know if you're lying. But let's go through this list here. Let's start with number 1. Okay, so 5 things you didn't know about Adrian Chong. Number 1. You were actually set to appear on Dancing with the Stars, but you were kicked off the show when it was learned you were a professional dancer. True or false? True. See? Definitely. I knew it. I knew I was paying those people for something. You are a trained dancer. That is incredible. Which styles of dance are you professionally trained in?
I don't know. I left that. When I left, I was actually playing War Robots. That's why I needed time to play. That's why I left.
So Adrian's answer to that is
Dancing War Robots.
Dancing War Robots, and I believe he is also highly skilled in breakdance fighting. So moving on to number 2. You can confirm or deny this, or maybe abstain. You once did a 12-hour live stream completely high on Whippets. True or false?
False.
Okay. All right. Okay, let me look at my app here. See, I have a lie detector app on my phone that I'm looking at right now, and according to it, you're lying. So it's true, folks. Adrian, how else do you get through a 12-hour live stream? Because I don't know if you guys know, but Adrian live streams, it's pretty much like I'm looking for an alert when Adrian's not live streaming. Because he does so many of them, I just want the pop-up that says, hey, I'm taking a break. So that way I know that I don't need to be watching. But yeah, completely high on Whippets. If you guys don't know what a Whippet is, I probably shouldn't tell you because there might be children, but it involves cans of whipped cream, and I'll leave the rest to your imagination. So let's move along here before we get into any legal trouble. Number 3. Your War Robot career was nearly cut short in a freak Candy Crush accident. So why don't you explain to all the listeners out there what in the world went wrong with you playing Candy Crush that almost cut your War Robots career totally short?
Candy Crush? Oh my
freak
God.
Accident. Yeah. So,
Freak?
how are you doing now? Are you recovering? How are the thumbs?
Yeah, I'm kind of recovering.
The
I had to kind
surgery?
of substitute with actual real candy.
Yeah.
That's why I'm high on candy. That's why I can live stream for long hours.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Candy.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of medicinal factor at work here. We won't get into details, but so the surgery is successful. I'm glad to hear. And if you guys didn't know, Adrian's thumbs are actually twice as long as a normal human's now. So that's why he's so good. Unfair advantage, I don't know. Some people just call it a life hack. I'm not sure. Moving along here, let's go to number 4 because it comes after 3. When the game debuted on iOS, which is the dirty, disgusting operating system for the Apple line of products, for those of you Android fans who have never heard of this before, the game was originally called Adrian Chong. Yeah, a lot of you didn't know that. Adrian actually sued Pixonic, and they settled out of court, and that's how Adrian ended up with this channel. True or false?
True.
See, I told you. Yep. Yeah. I don't know if I'm inventing a game about robots. I'm not sure why I call it Adrian Chong, but you got a great channel out of the deal. You have millions of subscribers. Your channel's like a bigger deal than their own YouTube channel. So I think this worked out pretty well for the rest of us, actually. Strange name, but I could see some late night discussions there at Pixonic HQ. A lot of vodka was consumed, a lot of imbibing of spirits, and so interesting. Lucky for you though. All right, so now the 5th thing you didn't know about Adrian Chong. You secretly hate all Apple products, but now you're just in too deep. You can't get out. True or false?
True.
True. I knew it. No one likes Apple stuff. I knew it. See, my wife says that she does. She has all these iPhone Pluses and iPads and iTuneses and things, and I knew she was lying. No one likes Apple stuff. You can't figure it out. I can't even open a web browser on her computer. I don't even know, like, it makes no sense. It's not intuitive. So, yeah, Apple products, much like the mafia, you know, once you're in, they don't let you out. And that's like the whole thing. You know, they call it an ecosystem, but it's really like, you know, a mafia system. You know,
it's like those Pringle chips. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Exactly. Yeah. No one ever eats just one Pringles. You eat the entire can. And, you know, then you go back, you know, to your bedroom and like hug your knees and cry, you know, in shame that you just consumed 27,000 calories worth of, you know, fried potato crisps. But, yeah, so that's shocking. Adrian Chong actually hates all Apple products. You heard it here first on the Warcast. Yes, I knew I was paying all those research people for something. Okay, I'm flipping pages. I actually have multiple pages of notes that I made for this. So, finally, on this New Year's edition of the Warcast, because it will be New Year's Eve by the time I post this, Adrian Chong, New Year's resolutions for 2017?
For this game, well, I think I'm going to be live streaming more. Definitely want to develop that side of things. I'm not really sure what. Maybe I'll hop on over to Android. Pay Android players a visit. I think I might do that.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple of things that I might do. Maybe even apparel stuff too. Yeah. Merchandise.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you could get like an Adrian Chong sweater vest. You know,
something like that.
Yeah, maybe with like, you know, like a image of your head crocheted into the front of it. I'd buy that. Yeah, I meant real life resolutions. I wanted to hear some like dirty, disgusting personal details, but we'll stick with robots. Yeah, New Year's resolutions for me, as far as the game goes, definitely I think primarily, chiefly among them even, stay away from robots-related Facebook pages as much as possible. I just, you know, you get sucked in and there's like so much anger and there's just, you know, everyone's bitter and like this sucks and that sucks and you suck and everything sucks. And I'm just like, there can't possibly be that much sucking going on in the entire world. You know, if you turned on every vacuum cleaner on Earth at the same time, you're not even talking like a fraction of like the total suckage that you would perceive if you read, I don't know, 11 Facebook posts on the various different pages, you know.
So much rage.
It's crazy. So that's my New Year's resolution is, you know, stay away from those pages. You know, I post every once in a while. I do the thing. I like to like comments. I'm not a social media guy. I don't really know anything about Facebook or how it works. I only have a Facebook account for the game because basically Pixonic forced us to for like the friends list thing. And I like to like comments because then I don't even need to type anything. You know, and so people just say like, "What?" You know, like, "I hate this game," and I just like their comment. You know what I mean? I just that's
like. No.
Yeah, that's the extent of it. But yeah, so I'm just gonna stay away from all the negative social media. You know, maybe I'll start a positive Facebook page. You can only post here if everything is like, you know, cheery and you know, fun. But yeah, so that's my resolution. So I think that is going to about wrap up this edition of the Warcast. This is the second episode, so. If you haven't seen the first one, this being the second, that means there's one prior to this that you should listen to. They're kind of long. The format is meant for you to be able to do other things. You know, whippets, for example. You could do whippets and just listen to the show. You don't need to watch a video. You could sharpen your knives. You know, there's all sorts of things that you could do that don't require you to watch a video. Now, for those of you that do want to actually look at the screen because you're that multi-talented, there will be beautiful images and graphics and slates and things. I call them slates because it sounds professional, like I know what I'm doing. And so there'll be lots of that with little, you know, pieces of information, fun things, photoshopped images of Adrian doing compromising things in, you know, somewhat unseemly situations that, you know, he's contractually obligated to be accepting of. So things like that. So if you do want to watch that, you can. So yeah, I think that's going to about do it. So this was the second episode of the Warcast. I had Adrian Chong was gracious enough to come on, And in all seriousness, he is a really great guy. Very likable, very friendly, very outgoing, considering how busy he is. Incredibly successful channel. Probably the most professional channel out there on robots. So if you want to start doing, robot videos or anything, use his as an example, because it is really top notch. Everything he does is really very well done. Don't look at mine. Mine is it's an exercise in childlike behavior, testing people's patience. So don't watch mine, but definitely watch his. I will put things that pop up. I don't know what they're called. YouTube does, though. You click on it, it will take you to Adrian's channel. And for the 7 of you out there left alive that haven't already subscribed to his channel, you can definitely do that. So I'd like to thank Adrian for being a really good sport, coming on the Warcast and sitting down with me for a little while here and having a really good time. This was really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for having me.
All right, that was Adrian Chong from the eponymously named channel Adrian Chong, but it has to do with war robots, okay? You might not immediately infer that, but the two are related. So, all right, thanks, Adrian. All right, that's all the time we have, and I would like to wish you all a very happy new year. I hope everything goes swimmingly for you in 2017. And as always, we will see you next time at the Center Beacon.